Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Sylvain. I'm joined here once again with Nathaniel and Ben. We are another episode of Movie Roundtable Discussion. We're reviewing the newest Spider-Man film. I don't think this is going to be a very long one because there's not much to say about it, and it's just awful. It's an awful film.
So bad. It was so bad.
Of everyone that I know personally, I am the biggest fan of Spider-Man. And I was incredibly disappointed in this film. I didn't like the portrayal of Spider-Man. I didn't like the villain. Just all of it.
Was awful.
Yeah, I know.
I couldn't stand it.
It was just, and like, there were scenes where the acting was just so bad that it sounded like and like the writing and everything was so bad. There was this one scene when Peter Parker was talking to his best friend, and it's just like, it sounded like a bad lip reading. I don't know if you guys have ever watched bad lip reading, but that's what it sounded like. I'm like, wait, what is this dialogue?
It's like so bad. Like everything about it was bad. Like Spider-Man didn't even get hardly any action. It was just terrible.
I mean, the whole thing with the whole drama stuff going on with Peter Parker and his love interest was just like,
it was a waste,
annoying.
It was a waste of film. That's what it was. It was a waste of film. But anything to add, Nathaniel?
I mean, you guys pretty much summed it up.
Yeah. It's just really bad.
Yeah, I'd have to say Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably my least favorite Spider-Man film. So I'm going to have to... we could just end the video here, discussion here, and say
I thought we were talking about Far From Home.
Oh. Wait,
Were we not
Spider-Man
talking
Far
about
From Home? Oh, I thought we were...
I said the newest Spider-Man movie.
Wait, right.
Wait, hold on. Let's take a step back. Okay, we're gonna have to edit this out. Wait, let's talk about this. Do we not like this movie, or do we like this movie?
Oh, no,
I can't remember.
Spider-Man Far From Home is great. I love
Are
Spider-Man.
you sure? Wait,
That's like
which
possibly my new favorite Spider-Man movie.
Wait, I'm confused.
It's Far From
Confused too. I don't
right?
understand.
We were talking about I was talking about like Andrew Garfield, Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
which was terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Far From Home was bad too, right?
No. Far From Home was great.
It was.
I don't think it. No, it wasn't.
I'm confused. Are we even talking about Spider-Man anymore? We're talking about the newest Spider-Man film, right?
Yeah, Far From Home.
I thought
Okay.
we were talking about Venom.
This is a Venom movie? When did this happen?
Like last year.
Last year? You mean to tell me that there's been a Venom movie with like who plays Venom?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what's going on anymore. Okay, so are we talking about Venom or are we talking about Far From Home?
Far From Home.
Okay.
I think. Because I was talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2.
You were talking about. I thought we were just talking about Spider-Man.
Okay.
Just as a character. I don't know.
Before we continue on this roundtable discussion, let us decide what we are going to talk about.
Yes.
The most recent movie that we watched was Spider-Man Far From Home. So we
Okay.
should talk about
Stop
that one.
Tapping my hard drive. Just stop.
Yeah, I'm down to talk about
Okay, Far From Home. Yeah, let's talk about Far From Home. I can't believe I missed a Venom movie. That's just like, I don't
You're
know.
not
I'm
missing
sorry.
much.
We just need it. So it's bad. It was a bad
alright.
movie.
It wasn't great, but I
I just
mostly enjoyed it.
I need a minute because I just can't believe I never even heard of it. It's like a year old already.
Yep. So anyway, Spider-Man Far From Home.
Okay, I guess we're talking about Far From Home. This movie doesn't suck.
Not at all.
No.
Quite the opposite.
This movie was awesome.
Yes, it was.
It was truly amazing. Greatly
greatly exceeded my expectations, and I had high expectations.
Fantastic film.
Where do we even start?
The beginning.
I swear, if you were on this show one more time and someone says, where do we start? And you say the beginning, I'm going to kick you off and not give you a single paycheck.
Well, maybe someone needs to stop saying, where do we start? And setting me up for that.
Well,
Ben.
So,
okay,
the beginning
Far From Home.
of Far From Home.
This picks up right
It's
after
the end. It's just the
Endgame.
end. It's the end. The end. We're done. That was a good discussion.
It was.
10 out of 10. Would recommend.
Okay, so Far From Home is the movie right after Endgame.
Mhm.
And I think for a movie that takes place right after Endgame and not have anybody from the Avengers except for Spider-Man, obviously, it was really well done. Like,
Yeah,
I
it was
really liked it.
good at tying everything in with things that happened in Endgame. You definitely felt the effects of Endgame.
Tony Stark is being praised as this ultimate hero, which he was.
Mhm.
He deserves the praise because, I mean, he's dead now, but his face is almost everywhere. You see it in the background and stuff. Not even near the beginning of the movie when he's just looking at the picture.
Mm.
Like, there's other parts that you see stuff about Tony Stark in the background.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like,
and I really like that.
you know, there's the line that Peter Parker says where he says, I see his face everywhere and all this, and you know that's a commonly used line in movies where somebody dies and you know then and somebody's real sad about it, so they'll say, oh, I see his face everywhere. But you literally see his face everywhere. That's like not in other movies. You're like, okay, sure, I guess you see his face everywhere, but you literally see his face everywhere.
I think it would have been a little cliche if he was like, I see him every time I close my eyes.
Yeah, no, he just sees
Like,
his
no,
face
I
everywhere.
literally see his face everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is hard on him because,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
It was basically his dad.
yeah.
He became such a strong father figure for him.
Yeah.
Just,
Man.
powerful.
I need to go back and watch Infinity War because I think that scene will. Because I'll go ahead and go into this now. I haven't seen Homecoming, and Infinity War kind of made me not like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Like, I wasn't a fan of his Spider-Man. That could be because he was with the Guardians and just a lot of the comedy was based on that. And every time just Spider-Man was Spider-Man, I was just like, I don't like this. But Far From Home, after watching this movie, I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He is awesome.
So far, he is my favorite Spider-Man. Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire was my favorite for the longest time, and I am conflicted now because for a while I was saying, you know, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man was the best Spider-Man movies, but I still thought Tom Holland was the best Spider-Man. So I was like, if you just take Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies and put Tom Holland in instead of Tobey Maguire, it would be the perfect Spider-Man movie. But now, I like Far From Home so much, I'd have to watch it again and, you know, let the whole thing sink in. This could just be my excitement from how great this movie was.
Yeah, because that's another.
But at this point, I can probably say that Spider-Man Far From Home is my favorite Spider-Man.
That's another thing. This was all of our first viewing of Far From Home, so that was nice. Because with Endgame, it was my first time, but you guys already saw it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd have to say that because I think the only one I haven't seen besides Homecoming is Amazing Spider-Man 1. Because I've seen Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then I've seen the 1, 2, and 3 of Tobey Maguire. But I would have to say that this is probably a perfect Spider-Man movie.
Amazing Spider-Man is not as bad as Amazing Spider-Man 2, but it is still bad.
Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man 2 just made me cringe and facepalm and laugh at... I was laughing at What's-Her-Face's death. That was hilarious to me. I couldn't. I don't know what it is. I watched that movie. It's supposed to be emotional scene. I'm so glad I didn't watch it in the theater because I could have been kicked out for being rude or something. But just imagine going to the theater, watching this movie, and being invested in it, and then she dies, and then you just hear someone behind you just start laughing. Just start cracking up and laughing. That's how it was for me. When she died, I could not stop laughing. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a single movie. The first time, obviously. I'm not laughing like every time I see it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it was. I haven't even seen a comedy that has made me laugh more than that. It's just so bad.
Yeah. Luckily, Far From Home was not that.
I know.
Far From Home was so good because it's such a great. This is what Homecoming. Far From Home, I think, perfected what Homecoming started to do. Because Homecoming obviously was like combining like a high school kid movie with a superhero movie. Mm-hmm. And Homecoming did pretty good. They did a good job of that. But I think this one did it absolutely perfectly. Because like they had like, you know, in the beginning of Far From Home, they have the like high school news scene talking about Tony Stark and all that. And they have the two kids like news anchors for the school. They had that a lot in Homecoming, and those scenes were kind of funny, but like meh. But I thought that scene in this one was just beautiful. I loved that was like such a great introduction to the movie.
I know, the band coming back in the corner and getting hit.
Yes, that was great.
That's so cool.
And it was like a good way of recapping what happened in Endgame, but in like the style of this movie. It was a good way to just remind you what happened, but also at the same time get you extremely invested into this movie.
And also, we should probably mention that this is a spoiler review.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I forgot.
Spoilers.
Major spoilers.
Probably for Endgame as well.
We already said Tony Stark dies. Iron Man dies. Iron Man dies in Endgame.
And he comes again in Far From Home. Kind of.
I missed that part.
I'm sorry, that was a fake spoiler.
That was fake. He doesn't come back. He's dead. He's dead. So, I just want to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal's character. It was so good seeing him.
Yes.
This was my first time seeing him on the big screen.
Yeah, it may have been mine too.
I think it might have been mine too.
I can't. Yeah, that's definitely for me because I've never seen a movie.
Yeah, because I didn't get to see Nightcrawler or Prisoners in the theater. Yeah. Obviously not Donnie Darko because I think I was like
way too young.
Either a kid or not born yet. I can't remember when that movie came out. It's some older movie though.
Yeah. What's his name? Mysterio.
Quentin Beck.
His character was awesome, and Jake Gyllenhaal did
that's honestly
awesome performance.
One of the best acting performances I've seen in a superhero movie.
No doubt.
Like, watching him, like, maybe not necessarily at first, when he was, like, in his, spoiler alert, when he was the hero Mysterio, like, his performance was good, but I didn't find it anything special, necessarily. And then when he switched over to evil Mysterio, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah, and I'd talk about this because I don't know anything about Spider-Man comics, so him being a villain was kind of a twist for me. Like, it didn't shock me, but it was just kind of like one of those things that were like, oh wow, that's a nice twist.
Yeah.
Because every Spider-Man fan, true Spider-Man fan, knew he was going to be a villain.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know anything about this character. This is my first time seeing anything on Mysterio.
Yeah. And I really loved
it was a nice twist for
that. Like, even though it's obvious to, like, most Spider-Man... Not most. It's obvious to every Spider-Man fan that he's going to be the villain of the movie. I still think that they did such a good job with, like, the marketing of it with all the trailers and everything for the film that they didn't give it away. because there's so often nowadays where trailers will give away important plot important plot information in the trailer, and you're like, oh well, I've just seen the movie now. But they didn't do that at all. Like Ian said, he went into the movie not even expecting Mysterio to be the villain. Like, the villain, according to the trailer, is the big elementals, and you're like, oh, that's cool. How's Spider-Man gonna fight elementals?
It honestly had me thinking that maybe they decided to make
like
Mysterio the good guy. Like in Captain Marvel. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, and you probably don't care.
Nope. Spoil it.
The Skrulls, which are the
The
aliens, huh?
The Elder Scrolls? Sorry.
They are. I'm pretty sure. I haven't read a lot of comics to back this up, but I'm pretty sure Skrulls are more often than not the villains. So I was going into the movie thinking that the Skrulls were villains. The Skrulls in the trailer looked like the villains. They turned out to be the good guys, and this is kind of what they did for this one too.
Yeah.
And me not reading a whole lot about the Skrulls in the comics, had no idea. It didn't surprise me one bit, and I don't think they handled it quite as well as they handled it in Far From Home. So it just kind of fell flat for me. But I think they handled it really well with this one.
Yeah. And like honestly, with all the trailers and all the promotional stuff for Far From Home that showed Mysterio, like at first, when I first saw the trailer with Mysterio and he looked like a hero, I was like, okay, no, it's gonna be like the Incredibles syndrome effect, where he's pretending to be a hero and he wants the people to see him as a hero when he's actually the villain. I was like, okay, that's what it's gonna end up being. And then the more that the trailers kept coming out and showing everything with Mysterio being a hero, I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he is just the hero, and you get halfway through the movie and he's still the hero, and there's no sign of him, there's no little hidden messages that are telling you this is actually the villain, and you're just like, maybe he is the hero. And it wasn't until the moment when Peter Parker, when they were sitting in the bar, and Peter Parker was deciding, or was trying to explain to Quentin Beck that he had to give the glasses. He was chosen to give the glasses away, not the one supposed to have them. It wasn't until that moment when obviously I probably knew that Mysterio was going to be the villain, because they basically defeated all the elementals, and there's still half a movie left. So I was like, at this point, I was pretty sure he was still going to become the villain, but it wasn't until that very moment that I was 100% certain that he was the villain.
Yeah. And I do like how they handled the trailers for someone like me, who doesn't know anything about the comics.
Exactly.
So I like that they were considerate of that, But yeah, his character was so awesome, and
Yes, and
Jake Gyllenhaal did amazing.
I want to talk about this single part in the movie ever since we watched it. The part where he beats up Spider-Man, essentially, was so well done.
The whole illusion sequence when he's
I felt like I was reading a comic or playing a video game.
Yes,
I haven't seen anything like that
on film. I was thinking about that when I was watching it, because I've played video games like in the Batman Arkham games. When you face Scarecrow, you go into like this weird dream realm or whatever, and you have to fight illusions and everything, and that's in it's a common thing in video games, but I've never seen it in film before.
And it was Spider-Man video game when you get stabbed or stung by a scorpion.
Yeah. Oh, and just it was so perfect. Like, that sequence alone, I think, might be what makes this my favorite Spider-Man film.
It was so good.
Because it was perfect. Like, literally perfect. I cannot imagine it being any better than it was. That sequence was amazing. It blew my mind.
Yes.
That was like, it was one of those scenes that was just like,
And it shows you how great of a villain Mysterio is. Because I've like not read a ton of comics, but what few I have with Mysterio, I've like not been like, oh, this is a super great villain. I've not ever been like a huge fan of Mysterio. Oh, it's Fishbowl Head. Okay.
Lame villain.
fishbowl.
Yeah. But oh my god, that scene solidified him as one of my favorite villains.
Yeah. Another thing about this scene is it was one of the scenes that wasn't, you know, those scenes in movies that just make you, when is this scene gonna end? This one was like the opposite. It was like you were saying, or I was saying, when is this scene gonna end? Because I can't handle it anymore.
I was saying,
it's so cool.
When is the scene gonna end? Because I can't tell anymore what's an illusion and what's not.
And then you think it's ending.
And then you're like, yeah, right when you think it's ended, and I'm like, okay. First of all, I was like, okay, Mysterio can't be that easy to defeat. But then also I was like, but maybe he is. Is this an illusion? Is this real? What is this?
Yeah. So that just tells you how well it did, because the whole point of it was to make you question reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only did it do that for Spider-Man, but it also did it to you, and you just were like, I don't understand.
But I'm also glad that they didn't make that into the entire concept of the rest of the movie.
Yes.
Because I was almost expecting to see another sequence like that at the end, when he kind of like infiltrated the place, so, you know. But I was like, don't do that again. That scene was so good. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So.
Yes.
Yeah. The
So
only
good.
time they kind of had that again was when he made the bridge thing like a dark hallway.
Yeah.
And so then Spider-Man had to use his spider sense,
Tinkle.
his Peter
Peter
Tingle,
Tingle.
to get through it. But even that part was really awesome.
Yes.
Just this movie.
Yeah.
was
It's,
so good.
It was so creative with
Yeah.
everything that it was
really
trying
was.
to do.
Like it. I'm just like speechless with how good this movie
Yeah.
was. I love it. I love
I
Spider-Man.
really, I love how, I think having that many drones like that was a perfect scenario to show Spider-Man what he can do.
Yeah. Show that
'Cause-
he's not just... Because the whole movie, he's just saying, I can't do this. I'm just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I can't take on big threats like this.
Yeah.
But then he proves that he can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, something I really loved about this film is Spider-Man is a science nerd. And he's really, really smart. And he can create gadgets and everything. And the first one didn't really show that a whole lot, which kind of made me sad because he just got all this tech from Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And this one, he had Tony Stark's gadgets, but they weren't already like completed, and he actually used Tony Stark's equipment to make his own things.
Yeah.
And
Like-
it actually showed like how smart he is.
And it also did a really good job of showing that Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is going to have to become the next Iron Man, and he's going to be capable of becoming essentially the next Iron Man. Because, like, that scene where he starts, you know, working in Tony Stark's, like, workshop in the jet, and then Happy just turns on AC/DC.
Oh,
I love
Led Zeppelin.
Okay, I have something to say about that. Yes, it was funny. Yes, it's a movie. But I face palmed in the theater, not because it was bad in the movie, but because I actually seen people mistake AC/DC for Led Zeppelin. That's what made me face palm in the theater.
Wow, this is so real.
I'm like, so relatable. But yeah,
But
that
when
was
you
an awesome
see
scene.
him, when it plays Back in Black, which is like the theme song for the first Iron Man movie, basically, you're just like, ah, yes, this is good. This is Spider-Man is like, I'm not saying that anyone can replace Iron Man or can replace Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is Tony Stark.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have anyone fill those shoes, it's got to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which I never would have really thought of before the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to be honest. Like, yeah, Spider-Man, I've always known Spider-Man's, like, a genius and everything. But to me, like, Spider-Man and gadgets and things have never been, like, a huge thing. To me, like, Spider-Man's always been, like, he uses his powers and maybe has a couple gadgets here and there, but never, like, a fully automated suit and all these other kinds of... Because, like, in Homecoming, when he has the Stark suit that, like, talks to him like Tony's suit does and all that kind of stuff, that kind of, like, I was like, I don't know if I like this. This doesn't feel like Spider-Man to me. But now I'm, like, in love with it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I don't know.
I moved the mic.
Yeah, you just put me on the spot here.
No,
I
I thought you.
No, I
From the
didn't.
corner
have
of my
any.
eye, it looked like you wanted to say something. So sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
I'm
to
just-
put you on the spot. I'm sorry. You okay?
I'm good.
Like, are you breathing okay? Did,
Yes.
You didn't make an oopsie in your pants?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Do you smell anything?
No. I think I smell some sweat, but you okay? You
Fine.
get some water. Get some water.
Fine.
Go get some water.
Okay.
There, it's okay. He gets nervous sometimes. Just it's okay. But yeah, like I loved seeing him make his own suit.
Yeah, that was
Because, like, the suit in Infinity War and eventually, like, Endgame and stuff, that was what Tony made for him. So it was really cool to see him make his own suit out of, like, the same tech
Yeah.
and everything. So that was really awesome. And it just got you pumped for the awesome climax of this film.
I like how his character development in this movie, where he's feels the pressure of him becoming the next Iron Man, and he's like, I can't fill those shoes. And then he has that talk with Happy, and Happy's like, you're not Tony Stark, you're Spider-Man. Don't be Tony Stark.
Yeah.
You don't have to fill those shoes. Just be you.
Just be
He didn't
you.
say those, but
That's
words
essentially
exactly. But that's
That was, his speech, what he was saying.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm so excited about. Knowing that there's going to be, 7 more Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland? 1 more for high school, 3 more for college, and then 3 more as an adult. Like, I cannot wait for the huge character arc that Spider-Man's going to have. And I cannot wait to cry my soul out when he dies like Tony Stark did. That's going to kill me. I think I'll die with Spider-Man when that happens. Not that that's confirmed, but I can just see it coming, and it's going to rip my heart out. But I'm just so excited for his character, where they're taking these movies. It's
I
exciting.
really like how, like, it is, everybody knows that there's going to be a new set of Avengers. And I like how, like, Iron Man was kind of the lead, not, like, as Captain America or whatever, like, giving orders, but he was kind of the lead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think...
he was the one to like find out all the information, get the like layout and everything, and then Cap would give the strategy.
Yeah.
And with Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Falcon as the new Captain America and stuff, like, with the new guys, like, Spider-Man fits that persona perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, Stephen Strange is a genius too, but I mean, they'll both be together. And by the way, I love watching interviews with those two, Tom Holland and Benedict Cumberbatch.
I watched interviews with them together.
It's awesome. Definitely watch them. They're funny.
Also, I'd like to point out this is that I thought was kind of interesting. Every character who hasn't gotten older, which is Ned, Betty Brant, Flash, Spider-Man. Well, we knew the Spider-Man already. and MJ all got erased.
They all got blipped.
They all got blipped because when they came back, everyone who was the same age is 5 years younger than they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Peter and all of his friends got blipped.
Yeah.
Which I guess they did for movie making ease, to make it a little easier to bring this in.
Yeah.
But just think about how kind of cool it would have been if a couple of Spider-Man's friends hadn't been erased. Imagine if some of them had lived the whole 5 years between Infinity War and Endgame. That would be so weird in this film. Like, imagine if, like, Flash Thompson had gotten 5 years older. Which I guess he would have graduated. Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. But, yeah, I guess none of that would have actually mattered because they would have all graduated and they just wouldn't have been in the film. But still, it would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I really like the what was I gonna say?
Really like just the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole movie, but the elemental stuff, it was really cool. Even though it was all fake and holographic and stuff, it was just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love the concept of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll actual things in comics,
Yeah,
in the
'cause,
Marvel
like,
comics.
There is a villain called Hydro Man that's a real thing, and obviously Sandman's a real thing, and I feel like
Yeah.
that first one in Mexico was kind of like a Easter egg kind of reference to
Yeah,
Sandman.
Like a nod to Sandman.
And then there's probably, I think Molten Man is a thing in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool how they incorporated real villains, or gave a nod to like real villains with those elementals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at first, before you knew that they were elementals, it kind of gave the impression that it was the same thing, the same kind of villain. So I was very interested in who the villain was, because it was like, oh, he's sand and now he's water. And then they're like, it's an elementals, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, rather than it just being one creature, one monster, one villain that's going around all these different places. They're all separate ones. That'll be really cool though, to have one guy who could turn into all the different elements. I want to see that.
I bet there is somewhere.
I'm sure there is.
In Homecoming, I wasn't a huge fan of Zendaya as MJ. But I think she did a good job in this one. I think there were a few times where I was just like, that was some bad acting. But it wasn't very often. There was only like one or two spots where I was just like,
Yeah, because at first, like in Homecoming, I just saw her as like the loner, outcast, does her own thing, doesn't really care, moody teenager. Yeah, that's what I saw her as. But in this one, I could see her like as an actual like because she seemed, instead of just being a loner, she seemed like kind of awkward, kind of like Peter, and then just other things. Just she felt more like an actual character.
yeah,
She was more complete in this one than she was in Homecoming.
yeah. In Homecoming, she was just kind of there.
Yeah, and so that was cool, and I felt like the whole everything between Peter and MJ was really good. Like those scenes, when it went to those scenes and like got away from like all the action, I didn't feel completely removed from everything. A lot of times movies will they'll go between these two story arcs, and you'll go to one and you feel completely removed from the other. I think this one did a really good job of balancing the high school story with the superhero story. It was,
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect.
Which is good for his just Spider-Man in
Yeah,
general.
especially since they actually decided to focus, like, because the original, both the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man are supposed to take place in high school, but they don't feel like high school at all.
I can kind of see the Andrew Garfield one being in high school, like they tried,
Yeah.
but I don't see that at all with Tobey Maguire.
No.
From memory, because I haven't seen those films in a long time. So
Yeah, like there's scenes that take place in high school, but it just doesn't. You don't feel like high school.
Part of it is because they look.
Yeah,
They look like they should be out of college.
Yeah.
Like just out of
They
college.
do. And like the funny thing is, they got younger actors to play them this time, but still, none of them are actually high school
they're
age.
all just out of college.
Yeah. So like, somehow they did a perfect job casting because they cast people who are older, but still look like they did a good job of making them look like they could be in high school. Because you see pictures and videos of Tom Holland outside of the films, and he seems a little older than what he is in the movies. So like I guess partly his like costume design of like his outfits when he's in school kind of help make him look like a high school kid. I don't know what it is, but whatever they're doing a really good job making them seem like they're in high school. And another thing I thought was hilarious and also just perfect and accurate for high school was the thing between Ned and Betty Brant. Like,
Yeah.
you're just like, where did this come from? Why is this thing? And then they just end it like nothing happened at the end of it, and you're just like, what? But that's like so accurate for like high school things. Like that just happens all the time in high school, and you're just okay. Yeah, this makes sense.
yeah. I was homeschooled, so I can't really relate. But like,
like seeing my friends who were in high school, I was just like, that kind of stuff happens all the time.
I understand it. Like, they did a really good job at kind of showing high school life on like a field trip, summer field trip thing. It really felt like a high school class, especially how the teacher acted.
Yeah.
I really liked how the movie was focused on Peter Parker and Spider-Man being on this trip, and people just keep taking the trip and changing it to benefit them, so that way Peter will go with them, and they're just kind of like following along.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, I just really liked that.
Yeah. I was like, all right, guys, looks like we're going to Prague instead of Paris. What? Yeah, the travel company called and said they gave us a free ride. They booked a bus and everything for us. Just like, why? How does this make sense?
I guess Nick Fury is lucky. Well, Nick Fury. I imagine it was through the entire movie that he wasn't actually there.
Yeah. He was probably... No, maybe, I guess he wasn't. I was going to say maybe he was in contact with them the whole time, but by the way of the end credit scene, it didn't sound like he actually was.
Yeah. But, like, it just seemed like, I don't know, like, Nick Fury, quotation mark, was just so lucky that their teacher was so stupid.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like any normal high school teacher who truly cares about his or her students would be kind of questioning that, I know I would.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, what?
This is too good to be true. Why?
I'm just like, we've already like paid for this, blah blah blah. We already had this all planned, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, you're going to another place for free. I would just be like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Explain, please.
Please explain. But yeah, I mean, just. It was a delicious movie.
Delicious.
I can't. It's just so good. Can't even say anything. I don't even know what else to talk about now. I'm just like, it is so good. Just go watch it.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't expecting this to be as long as a conversation as Endgame, because there's not nearly as many characters.
Yeah, there's not as many characters. There's not as much like details to go into necessarily, but just it was good.
I honestly think I liked it better than Endgame.
I think I did too, maybe.
I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, it's up there for
Yeah.
sure. I
It is one of the
categorize,
best MCU movies.
yeah, I categorize Endgame and Far From Home as awesome films. Like I categorize them as like fantastic films. But I think this is a good thing to mention. This is the first Marvel film without a Stan Lee cameo. I know. And you're having so much fun. Like, this isn't, I guess, in some ways, I don't know. It's not a good thing, obviously. But, like, you're having so much fun with the film that you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until after the fact that it dawned on you.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. If I had seen a Stan Lee cameo, it would have like hurt my heart because I've been like, oh, he's gone. But then not seeing it was like, there wasn't that little short moment that kind of takes you out of the film. So I was just 100% fully invested the whole time, and so I didn't even think, because most of the time I don't go into a Marvel movie thinking, all right, I gotta look for that Stan Lee cameo, because they're always just so obvious.
Yeah.
Like in older Marvel movies, they're not as obvious, and so you're kind of like, oh, I have to watch out for that.
Or you could just go on YouTube and look them up.
Yeah,
because
go on
there's
YouTube and look
compilations
them up.
of all of
Ever.
them.
But yeah, it was just, I didn't really, I won't necessarily say it was weird not having it there, because I didn't feel like something was missing because it wasn't there. But then thinking about it afterwards that it's not there, it's just hurts my soul.
Yeah. But I did like how, I mean, obviously this wasn't like planned ahead, because I imagine they were probably filming or almost, I don't know when the production was when he died, or how far it was into the production when he died, but it was good to see this film that was so good shortly after his death. It was like, this isn't gonna stop Marvel.
Yeah. Like, yeah, Stan
It's
Lee
like,
was the rock behind Marvel and everything, but he would have wanted us to keep going.
yeah, this,
We're not going to stop making these movies, and we're not going to the quality of them is not going to go down any just because he's not here anymore, because nothing would make him more sad than for something like that to happen. So to keep them going and make them
The
better.
best that they can be.
Yeah. Like, and just thinking about that, with Spider-Man being like Stan Lee's prized creation, because Spider-Man was like the original Stan Lee superhero.
Yeah.
And thinking that just after he's gone, they create possibly the best Spider-Man film. I could just imagine Stan Lee up there smiling down on us for watching this amazing film.
yeah, I like how it was his child, Spider-Man was, and the movie without his cameo and after his death is a Spider-Man movie. It's so good. It's like, it's almost like respecting him.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie was more of like a homage to Stan Lee than Endgame.
Yeah, I agree. And like, honestly, the one time I did think about Stan Lee in the movie was when, they start playing that song, Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, and that's how the movie starts out. And then it says In Memoriam, and I'm like, oh no, is this gonna be like a Stan Lee thing right now? And then it was Tony Stark, and I'm like, okay, this makes way more sense. But then I was just also like, Stan Lee. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm good. But
Yeah. So, in conclusion, are we ready for conclusion?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Yes.
Okay. This movie is awesome. So awesome. I love it. It made me Infinity War failed. Infinity War and Endgame, even though it wasn't in Endgame as much. Those two movies failed to make me like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. But this movie made me love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. And Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing in it. I was
Perfect cast for Mysterio, I think.
yeah, it was so good seeing. Because I love Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's one of the best modern actors.
Yes.
So.
Sure.
I'm gonna have to give this an 8 out of 10. I would give it like a 10 out of 10, but then I'm like, I didn't give Endgame a 10 out of 10. And I think Endgame's better, technically, as like a film. It was more like well made and more serious, obviously, and that's more on the lines of like my movie taste. But as fun, so I'll do the same rating as Endgame. So. Spider-Man Far From Home, I give an 8 out of 10.
I give Spider-Man an 8 out of 10 as well. I had a blast watching this movie. I honestly think it was better than Endgame. The reason I am not giving it a full 10 out of 10 is because there are a few parts where Zendaya's acting made me cringe. And there were... the cinematography wasn't anything special, and the soundtrack wasn't anything special. There were a few things that just weren't anything special. I mean, the majority of the movie is fantastic, but there were just a few things that weren't.
The most special thing about this movie was that illusion section.
Oh.
That was fantastic.
Yep. So,
Of course, the one
Let me
who's
say
the biggest
before-
Spider-Man
let
fan.
me say this before you do this. Just because it's an imperfect movie doesn't mean that you don't have to give it a perfect rating.
I know.
I give the mic to the
'Cause
biggest Spider-Man fan in the
I
room for the last rating.
I really can't think of anything about the movie that I disliked.
Well, I know what Ben's rating is.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this a full-on 10 out of 10 because it was perfect for me. It's everything I wanted. It was amazing. I loved it. I just can't say anything more. It's good. It's great. It's amazing. Amazing Spider-Man.
Would
Yeah.
recommend.
Definitely recommend.
100% recommend.
I mean, obviously, if you've seen any Marvel movie, people are already. It's got such a big fan base. So do we need to recommend it anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
Warning for this, so people have already watched it.
yeah.
Hopefully.
So, thank you for watching this movie roundtable discussion. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.